come a long way from the player I was when we first started this show. A couple years back, around this time, being Canadian Nationals, with Canadian Nationals being around the corner, I got to this point where I would start being secretive about my teams. This year, I am not as secret keeping as I used to be. Subsequently, though, I'm also a different player from then. I've learned a great deal, become better at the game in some facets, though this year is not necessarily my best year, mostly by lack of participation. But I thought it would be fun this year to actually, instead of putting a glass or a big blast shield over what my team is going to be, let's talk about my team and why I'm making the choices I'm making. And to do this, Amber is going to be wonderful and grab me the baggie of relics off of the table, or off of my dresser. Watch her run. There she goes. She's also going to grab me a shield level 7 ID and a Nick Fury. Alright, so let's talk about the meat of my team and what I'm putting on the team. For one, this year I wanted to be a little bit more budget focused to a degree. You know, I didn't want to put a great deal of chases on my team, but at the same time, there are still some money value characters on my team. That's just the nature of competitive play. But my base of my team started with Cable. I really fell in love with the figure number 014 Cable from the Deadpool set for a number of reasons. Most importantly of which is the fact that he can use phasing as part of a kind of running shot-esque ability. So he can move using phasing, make an attack if he moves less than 5 or less squares. Yeah, 5 squares or less, and then make an attack or range attack or close attack, both of which are very important. Now, unfortunately, can't use his Psychic Blast necessarily with that, but that's okay because he does a ton of damage, and just that move and then attack is very, very cool. In addition to which, he is traded with Stealth. Very cool combination. There's not as much stealth busting in the current meta as you think, though one of the biggest stealth busters being Nick Fury is something to consider. As well, he comes with invulnerability and energy shield as long as he has less than 2 action tokens, which can be mitigated in ways which we'll talk about later. He's got the X-Men team ability as well, which will come into focus in a couple minutes, and we'll discuss why that's an element. He's also indomitable, which is why, he's really cool. He comes with built-in willpower. You don't have to do much to Cable to make him great, and, I didn't end up adding anything to Cable necessarily in order to add to him. So Cable as a whole, he also comes with probability control. And gosh, if you know my dice rolls, you know why I brought that. But that's not the only source of probability control I brought. I brought little old Dupe. Dupe is 35 points. He's tiny. He's got the cool X-Statics trait with the ability to create headline tokens. It's really not what he's going to do. So probability control, and I'm talking Amber off camera, it's the worst. But he's also a little bit tougher than a lot of the small dial probability controls because he comes with Invincible. If they want to put the extra work into the 35-point character, that's great, but he's also tiny, which makes him harder to hit. If he happens to be hindering, that's a 19 defense you're trying to attack on my tiny little probability controller. He's a great little element. He's also X-Force as well in his keywords, which is where we're going in the next step. And where this whole team started, and it is a shifting focus Deadpool, and specifically starting with the white costume Deadpool. 1, he's X-Force keyword, so now, boom, X-Force theme team. As well, he's got the ability to free movement phase, and that free movement can move him anywhere between an additional 1 and 6 squares for free in a turn. So have him carrying Dupe. You got 2 characters moving across the board at a quite alarming rate. Factor in the fact that now that I've got a theme team, at the build point, this is where I'm a theme team. It doesn't matter what other Deadpools I use, but the other Deadpools are going to be a little hurting when trying to use the X-Force team ability theme prompts. But, of course, because I went with an X-Force theme team, that means I can use one of the bathrobe Deadpools, specifically the one focused on the X-Force keyword characters. I believe this was the one that's actually, he's holding an X-Force comic, which is pretty great. And for a number of reasons, this is why this team gets a little bit of a bump from him. In addition to being one of the shifting focus characters, he also has traded probability control, but he can only use it to target X-Force characters. Guess what my team's made up of? He's also got a special damage power that allows him to use Perplex once per turn, but once to target himself, and once to target a character with the X-Force keyword. In addition to which, he comes with Defend. If I happen to be on the second click, that's Defend with an 18 defense. That's actually click 2 and 3. He also phases, should I need it. There's a lot of movement potential between him, and also extra defense potential, which goes a long way. And of course, I've got the miasma of Deadpool's. I've got the range combat focused one for some Psychic Blast that can eventually, add some extra reroll power to my team because, and I'm going to point this out, he's got this bang, 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 bang trait, which says when Deadpool hits one or more opposing characters with a range attack, put a bang token on his card. Once per turn, you may remove a bang token to reroll Deadpool's attack roll. He also ignores hindering for line of fire, which is that stealth busting that's somewhat lacking in the game right now. He also comes with the first 2 clicks of Psychic Blast, last 2 clicks have Pulse Wave. Oh my goodness. He doesn't come with a lot of front-facing damage, but that's okay. That can be dealt with, which we'll explain a little later. And then, I also have the Sword Deadpool because Blades, Claws, and Fangs, or 3 damage on its own, is pretty good. I also think he can use Blades, Claws, Fangs, and when he does the minimum for a D6 is his printed damage. So instead of, I use Blades all the time, and if I get less than 3, I deal 3. If I get more than 3, then bonus. So there's really no loss at his Blades, Claws, Fangs, to be brutally honest. Plus, he's also a wild card. The team abilities are a big factor in this team. As to why I just decided to use it, in addition to being able to use Shifting Focus Deadpool. We also have this one, which is good on his first and last click, but a very good harassment piece if you can really get the defenses to work for you. So the one holding his helmet there. And then, of course, we have Healy Face Prime Deadpool taking up my Prime slot. That's perfectly okay. It's the slot that it is. But what's important is he also has the X-Men team ability, which can trigger his healing ability should he roll poorly on it. In addition, I can also push him, which will trigger the ability to get the healing off of. So I got a lot of healing coming from the X-Men team ability on this. And that is an element I am making use of as well. Now, the Deadpool doesn't come on his own. He's coming with Brainiac. And the reason he comes with Brainiac is twofold. One, if I happen to decide to stay on this particular Deadpool because the defenses are really good, the movement's really working for me and everything like that, I can add to the attack, or I can add Psychic Blast to his combination of powers, and I can also add some Impervious to him as well. And towards the mid dial, I can add Pulse Wave to any of these Deadpools, or clear action tokens for my opponents taking power actions to extend my turns a little, as it were. So that's a really cool element to add to the character. Plus, it's about time I started using these possessors, right, guys? I mean, come on. My teammates all yell at me. It's like, Jason, use possessors. No, you're not my real dad. I'm bringing 3 ID cards as well. These actually kind of wrapped up the end of the team because before I added the ID cards, I had Pandora's Box. The team itself, not a lot of points. It's a lot of sideboard action going on this, which a lot of people will irk off me, and I don't blame them. But I put Pandora's Box on for a number of reasons. 1, to bump the defense values on these guys. 2, I can get Wrath on the Deadpool and start getting willpower on all of the versions instead of just a couple of them, or just the one that has Indomitable. So it's got a little bit of long reach on that. Plus, then now, or all of a sudden, Deadpool can just start saying characters that have shape change. If I choose to get next to them with the sword-based one, they don't have their shape change, right? Because God knows we don't like getting stuck with that power. I've also chosen, I can't remember which path name it was, but ultimately, let me see here. It is the blue path, the one that starts with telekinesis and leadership, but then eventually, nope, that's not the one. Hey, how about that? It's actually the one that starts with phasing and energy explosion, but eventually goes to force blast and enhancement. What'll end up happening with that is I get a kind of a twofold win on this. If I get enhancement, I get so much extra range damage by keeping my team kind of close together. It's a risk. I understand from the standpoint of energy explosion. You have to play around that. But as well, the Force Blast could add extra damage to attacks I'm making because that can add the extra knockback. It could also disrupt formations, which is an important element. I've got most likely going to be putting Sloth on Dupe 1 to add an additional 1 to his defense. So 17 becomes an 18, 19 at range, 20 if I'm in hindering on a tiny little probber. And that's pretty great. Cable is likely going to receive a close combat focused relic. Probably either Gluttony. I think I'm bringing both Gluttony and I'm Gluttony and Greed for a number of reasons. Most importantly, though, for Gluttony, just in case I need to get some extra wall breaking and my formation building and movement isn't working for me. And one of the important things that this relic is adding to my team is sidestep. Dupe has it. Some of the Deadpools have it, but not all of the Deadpools have it. And Cable doesn't come with it either. So what will end up happening now is this Deadpool, instead of just moving an additional free 1 to 6, actually moves an additional 3 to 9 or 3 to 8 squares. Because if I roll a 1 and I sidestep, that's 3 free movement I've got. If I roll a 2, that's 4, 5. You see where this is all going, right? If I happen to roll a 6, I've got an additional 8 free squares of movement, 6 of which don't care about terrain. That is a bonkers thing to have to kind of wrap your head around, right? In addition, Dupe's not going to take a lot of things that count as actions. Probability control is not an action. If he happens to take a damage, or he uses the X-Men team ability one turn, and the next turn he's probably just going to use prob, he will heal that one extra click that he has, keeping him as kind of an X-Men team ability engine, as it were. Now, a lot of this can be taken care of by targeting these guys, but the goal is, of course, to avoid that kind of thing. Dupe will be, of course, following my phasing Deadpool to move around the board quite well. Now, the ID card focus, I originally had Hawkman, Green Lantern, and Atom. And the focus being Dupe needed something else to do, and why not have 100% of the options that he's going to take be ID cards? So if I have 3 ID cards and Dupe can call them all in, there's nothing wrong with Dupe paying 5 points per turn to possibly deal a lot more damage than Dupe does. But reason kind of beat out on me, and I went with the Shield level 7 ID card instead of the Hawkman ID card in order to get Nick Fury. A number of reasons why I got Nick Fury. If I happen to be stuck in an open map near my buddies, happen to have all the things out, and I happen to have ruled enhancement, he can do 6 damage just out of nowhere, penetrating damage to the right target, or I can ignore the powers that are blocking me from dealing damage. Unfortunately, the only character that can call him out is Cable, but Cable has enough defense going for him that can mitigate any of the worries I have of losing Cable. So, all in all, this is kind of the thing I came up with as a joke that surrounded Deadpool and Dupe. And Cable happened to get added onto it, which was, fortuitous, as Cable was really good in a common slot. I added the Brainiac to Deadpool, which jumped up the value of my team, but at the same time, I kind of looked at it and said, it's time to really get some gumption out of a team. The Pandora's Box really adds to defenses. With 4 relics on it is pretty reasonable. Most of the time, the 4th relic is not going to see the table. It's more or less an option filler and a point filler, because you can only have 3 ID cards on a team with 3 characters. And, because I couldn't put a 4th ID card on, I had to put those points somewhere. ATAs weren't really a thing I was looking at for a lot of these characters, mostly because no ATA really makes me benefit. Cable ignores hindering for movement even if he's not phasing. And Deadpool is not really caring about terrain if I'm moving him over certain periods. Dupe is generally getting carried by the rest of the team, so the X-Force team ability just didn't really appeal to what my team already did and was already an issue that it was mitigating. But the big question is, Jason, how do you plan on winning? I don't. I know Jakeem, Thunder, and Faust are going to be on the table. They're going to be a hard matchup, and honestly, it's going to come down to me attempting to use my probability controls to hit Jakeem Thunder as much and as frequently as I possibly can with as much damage as I possibly can. I'm going to try to utilize my map winnings with my +3 to map roll to choose the maps that I want against the teams that I'm up against. And there's a lot of close quarters maps that I'm focusing on because of the freedom of movement this team has. So this is all the thought process that went into my nationals team. It may not be a winning team. It is not necessarily a weak team, as I have tried it several games already, but I do need to practice significantly more with it. And it's all going to come down to a number of things. Most importantly, which is who I'm up against, and getting through sealed. Let's not kid ourselves. Sealed is an important element to it. So, that's Jason's team in a nutshell. I've been talking about it for a little while, so I don't feel bad about sharing it or anything like that. And honestly, keeping a secret is only going to get you past the Swiss once you get into the finals. That everybody knows what your team does anyway. And for those of you who are questioning, the Green Lantern ID card is going to be using the super rare from Joker's Wild, and the Atom I'm going to keep sidelined with both the Colossal and the Uncommon from Joker's Wild. I don't know how many matchups the Uncommon from Joker's Wild is ideal for, or how many matchups the Colossal is ideal for just yet, but I do feel like the regular size one can come in a nutshell in the maps that I want. But if I don't get the map choice, then the Colossal might be the one I go for. It depends on a number of factors. That said, thanks guys for watching. I'm, in the meantime, going to be getting a little bit more practice just before the tournament starts. And that's, in my opinion, is going to make me better with my team and make my team better, because practice, as we all know, makes your team better. Good luck for you guys coming to Canadian Nationals. Good luck to anybody who's not, who's going to be playing out there in Worlds or at U.S. Nationals or whatever national event that you happen to be at. Good luck to all of you, and have fun.